It's a very exciting time to track geopolitics. The war in Ukraine is hitting its third anniversary in a few days from now. High-profile meetings are underway to strike peace. But it has also triggered a new battle. Whose version of peace will prevail? Will it be Donald Trump's with his concessions to Russia, or will it be Europe's? And where does Ukraine feature in these talks? Will peace cost Zelensky his job as president? We ask because Donald Trump is now pushing for elections in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Putin is having the last laugh. He played the long game and he seems to be winning it. America does not want to fund this war anymore, and Europe cannot make up its mind on how to help Kyiv. We'll also tell you about Trump's peace envoys, the two men tasked with ending the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Who are they? Why has the White House said that Elon Musk does not head Doge? What's the latest in the AI wars? Mira Murati has a new startup, and Sam Altman is trying to Musk-proof OpenAI. How Champions Trophy kicked off in Pakistan, and who owns James Bond? All this and more coming up. The headlines first. In Bangladesh, more than 150 students injured in violence at a university campus. The youth wing of former Prime Minister Khalida Zia's party clashed with a protest group, but they have blamed the Islamist party Jamaat for provoking the violence. Zia's party is expected to win the election slated to be held by early next year. In India, Rekha Gupta will be the new Chief Minister of Delhi. The swearing-in ceremony will be held tomorrow. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah are expected to be in attendance. Earlier this month, the BJP returned to power in the national capital after 27 years. The Sudan slams Kenya for hosting the Sudanese paramilitary. The rebels are set to declare a parallel government. The rapid support forces have been at war with the Sudanese army for nearly 2 years. On Friday, the RSF will declare a government in territories under their control at an event in Nairobi. Is Australia about to get its own Donald Trump? Billionaire Clive Palmer launches a political party inspired by the US president. This comes just months ahead of the federal election. Like Trump, the mining magnate has promised to quote-unquote drain the swamp in the country's capital. Palmer also opposes mass immigration. And Sweden's Supreme Court dismisses a climate lawsuit. It was brought against the state by 300 young people, including activist Greta Thunberg. The lawsuit was the first of its kind in the Scandinavian country. It demanded that Sweden take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
President Trump is determined.
You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. Thank you very much.
Volodymyr Zelensky was just 17 when he first took the stage. It wasn't the grand platforms of diplomacy. It was on the sets of Ukrainian television. Zelensky made his career as a comedian, playing the common man and then a fictional president on TV. But in the year 2019, the line between fiction and reality blurred. Zelensky contested an actual election. He promised reform and peace, and he won. He's been president for 6 years. And for 3 of those 6 years, his country has been at war. He is failing to deliver the peace that he promised. And now he may have to pay a big price for it. Peace in Ukraine may cost Zelensky his job. Yesterday, there was a meeting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, between delegations from Russia and the US. Ukraine was not at the table. A report suggests that the Saudis wanted to invite them, but the idea was shot down both by Washington and Moscow. Needless to say, Kyiv did not like the snub. Zelensky called it a quote-unquote surprise.
You can talk about anything, but no decision can be made without Ukraine on how to end the war in Ukraine. We were not invited to this meeting, the US-Russia meeting in Saudi Arabia. It was a surprise for us, as well as for many.
Being left out was bad enough. What followed was worse. US President Donald Trump took the stage and he blamed Ukraine for starting the war. Ukraine, not Russia.
I have the power to end this war, and I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it.
It sounds like Kremlin's talking points. Trump said Ukraine could have avoided this war altogether. How? By signing a deal with Russia.
You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And
you could have made a deal with Russia. That's what he said. And Trump was not done with this. He had more advice for Ukraine. He said they should hold elections. Remember, this is a country still at war, a country under martial law, which makes elections legally and logistically impossible. But Trump does not care about that. He wants polls. It's a proposition that Zelensky has denounced.
If someone wants to replace me right now, I would say it won't happen right now. As we are talking about 4%, we have seen this disinformation. We understand it's coming from Russia. We understand that, and we have proof that these numbers are being discussed between America and Russia.
So Zelensky says he cannot be replaced, but it seems Trump wants to see him go. Let's look at the recent statements from the US. Trump wants elections in Ukraine. He thinks Zelensky's approval ratings are too low. His first buddy, Elon Musk, thinks worse. A post on X said, and I'm quoting, Zelensky doesn't want peace. He wants money and power. And Elon Musk agreed to that. So they don't have a favorable opinion of Zelensky, Trump and Musk. Unfortunately for the Ukrainian president, many people in his own country might share this view. Look at his approval ratings. They've been falling. When the war began, it was at 90%. By the end of 2023, it dropped to 77%, and now it is at 57%. And we understand why. It's been 3 years of war. The toll has been devastating. Countless lives have been lost. Cities have been reduced to rubble. And even after all of this, there is no clear path to military victory. So disillusionment is inevitable. Where does that leave Volodymyr Zelensky? The Americans want him gone, so do the Russians, of course. His own people do not trust him. Military aid is dwindling, and Europe cannot make up its mind on how to help him. So what choice does he have? He can either agree to a peace deal brokered by the US and Russia and accept the concessions, which, by the way, still does not guarantee his presidency. The other option is refusal. Zelensky can reject the deal and risk being seen as standing in the way of peace. So calls for elections may intensify, and he may still end up out of office. Like I said yesterday, there are only bad options for him right now. Choose power and risk isolation, or choose peace and risk losing his job. Zelensky will be brooding, but I'll tell you who isn't. Russian President Vladimir Putin. When he invaded Ukraine, a lot of experts were shocked. They felt that Putin had miscalculated, that he would end up being stuck in Ukraine. But Putin was playing the long game. He wasn't just betting on his military might, he was betting on the opposition's weakness, and it has paid off. America has lost interest in defending Ukraine, Europe is a house divided, and Zelensky has lost his charm. So as things stand, it is advantage Putin. It looks like the Russian president will have the last laugh. I'll give you 3 reasons why. Number 1, Putin's main war goal has been met. He wanted to stop Ukraine from joining NATO, and Trump has already agreed to it.
Membership for Ukraine.
They've been saying that for a long time, that Ukraine cannot go into NATO. And I'm okay with that. I just want the war, whether they are or they're not. But it certainly would seem to be that most people have said that that is something that's not going to happen.
Number 2, Putin wanted to carve up Ukraine, to turn it into a broken rump state. Again, things are headed that way. First, he annexed Crimea from Ukraine, that was in 2014, and now in the ongoing war, he's taken over much of eastern Ukraine. Around 20% of the country is occupied by Russia, and it looks like Trump will let Putin keep this territory.
We must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. A durable peace for Ukraine must include robust security guarantees to ensure that the war will not begin again.
And this will have long-term consequences. For example, will the European Union admit a broken Ukraine? Can a rump state grow financially? The answer to both these questions is no. So Putin is creating a weakened state at his border, a state he can meddle in, a state he can order around, and a state he won't have to fear. Number 3 is sanctions relief. There are more than 24,000 sanctions on Russia, 24,000. Out of this, more than 7,000 are by the United States. Putin will want those sanctions lifted, and Trump seems willing. Listen to what his Secretary of State said yesterday.
Sanctions relief going to be involved in any of this normalizing or trying to more level set relationship between the U.S. and Russia? Did the Russians bring up sanctions relief in the meeting today?
Well, sanctions are all the result of this conflict. There are sanctions that were imposed as a result of this conflict. And so I would say to you that in order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides. We're not going to predetermine what those are.
This worried US allies in Europe. So Secretary Rubio got on the phone later. He said the sanctions would remain until a deal is struck, which is frankly expected. Putin will never agree to a deal without sanctions relief. So you've ticked 3 objectives. No NATO membership for Ukraine, check. Turn Ukraine into a broken state, check. Commitment to ease sanctions, check. It makes you wonder, has anything gone wrong for Putin? Well, one thing, yes. After his war, 2 countries joined NATO, 2 neutral countries. Finland joined in 2023 and Sweden joined in 2024. Finland shares a massive land border with Russia, and Sweden shares a maritime border. This was certainly a setback to Putin, but his broader goals in Ukraine are on the verge of being fulfilled, and do not think that this is luck. This is long-term strategic planning. Look at what he did with Europe. Europe was always dependent on Russian gas supplies, but Putin built on that. He turned it into leverage for Russia. At the time of invasion, 45% of Europe's gas came from Russia. This allowed them to expand his treasury. It also gave him clout in Europe, especially in countries like Hungary and Serbia. Knowing this, he invaded Crimea in 2014. Putin learned 2 lessons from that operation. 1, the West would only respond diplomatically, not militarily, meaning they would not send troops. And 2, he would have to prepare for sanctions. Putin built alternatives to Western services and goods, even symbolic ones like McDonald's. As a result, the impact of sanctions has been limited. And it shows in the GDP numbers. Look at these numbers. Russia's economy grew by 3.6% in 2023 and a projected 4% in 2024. Compare this to G7 nations. Their combined average in 2024 was 1.7%. Russia may not have completely beaten the sanctions, but it did survive the worst. And a big reason for that is Putin's pivot to Asia. In the last decade, he expanded his relations with China. He built a personal equation with Xi Jinping. He bought military drones from Iran, visited North Korea to meet Kim Jong-un, and he continued his warm ties with India. The only thing he could not control was the US election result. So when Donald Trump won, Putin must have been thrilled. He knows how to sway this US president, whether it's by praising his personality or echoing his lies on the 2020 election. Listen to this.
Никогда не отказывались от диалога.
The pre-election period has been difficult for Mr. Trump in every way. He and even members of his family were constantly under severe pressure. There were even attempts on his life. But he showed the courage to win a convincing manner.
Предварительные намётки, конечно, можно.
I can't disagree with Trump that if he was president, if his victory was not stolen in 2020, then maybe there would not be the crisis in Ukraine that arose in 2022.
So Putin is sitting pretty. Knowing him, he won't be celebrating yet, not until a proper deal is struck. But he certainly made one thing clear to the world: never write off Vladimir Putin.
So the Europeans, who have provided as much or more support than the Americans in this process, you don't think should be at the table directly. You think it should be two protagonists.
As I said, I'm a school of realism. I think that's not going to happen.
So Zelensky's job is on the line. Vladimir Putin is having the last laugh. Where does that leave Europe? What options does Brussels have? The EU announced new sanctions on Russia today. This package bans 48 individuals and 35 Russian entities. It also bans aluminium imports from Russia. Meanwhile, European leaders have gone into a huddle. There's another meeting in Paris, the second one in 3 days. They're calling it an emergency summit. The first one, which took place on Monday, was attended by 7 EU leaders. This time the list is longer. Paris has invited several smaller EU nations, also Canada. Remember, Canada is a NATO member and it's joining the meeting in that capacity. No prizes for guessing what's on the agenda. The war in Ukraine and how to stay relevant. If the US withdraws its security umbrella, how will Europe defend itself? Will they have to follow Trump's lead? Will they be forced to accept his Ukraine deal? Can Europe offer an alternative? They will discuss all of this. Also talk about increasing defense spending and deploying European soldiers in Ukraine. These conversations have been on for a while, but there's no consensus yet. For instance, defense spending. Europe wants to boost its defenses. How much would that cost? In the next 10 years, the EU would need $500 billion for defense. This is the estimate that Brussels has come up with, $500 billion, which is a large sum. Where will all this money come from? Certainly not from the United States. Trump is already complaining about it.
And I think Europe has given $100 billion, and we've given, let's say, 300 plus, and it's more important for them than it is for us. We have an ocean in between, and they don't. But where is all the money that's been given? Where is it going? And nobody, I've never seen an accounting of it. We give hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't see any accounting.
Trump doesn't want to foot the bill for Europe's security. He has made this abundantly clear on multiple occasions. So where will Europe find the $500 billion it needs? One option is to exempt defense spending from the bloc's budget rules. Currently, EU laws have placed a cap on government deficit. What is government deficit? It is the difference between the spending and the earnings of a government. When a government's earnings fall short of its expenses, it leads to a deficit. Right now, EU nations have a cap on their deficit. They cannot allow their deficit to rise above 3% of their GDP. That is the law. Now, if defense is exempted from this rule, these governments can spend more on military upgrades. So that's one option for them. The second option is to introduce joint borrowing plans. Instead of each member taking on more debt individually, the bloc could borrow as a collective and then distribute funds to each member state. This would ease the debt burden for everyone. Another option is to reallocate existing budgets. With some clever accounting, Europe could free up money and meet its defense needs. Countries like Poland are already on board. They are willing to boost defenses both for Ukraine and for Europe, even if it means pushing their economies into more debt. Warsaw believes this is a logical course of action.
We received very important confirmation, especially very important for us, that investments in defense will no longer be treated as excessive spending. And this is an important change. I won't say revolutionary, but in the history of the European Union, this is a very serious concession to logic, which Poland has been talking about for many months at various meetings in Europe.
So raising more money is one option, but in recent days another idea has been thrown around: sending European soldiers to protect Ukraine. France and Sweden have shown interest. The United Kingdom is ready to deploy troops immediately. Remember, the UK is no longer a part of the EU, but it remains a part of NATO. If Europe pursues this plan, how many troops would they need? Somewhere between 40,000 and 150,000 soldiers. It's a significant number, also a broad range. It would require a broad consensus. And that is Europe's biggest challenge. Whether it's funding or deploying troops, European nations remain divided on all fronts. And this is especially true for Germany, which is one of the biggest and most influential members of the EU. Germany remains reluctant to send more money to Ukraine. It is also hesitant when it comes to troop deployments.
There must be no division of security and responsibilities between Europe and the US, which means that NATO is based on the fact that we always act together and are at risk together and guarantee our security through this.
Olaf Scholz prefers to wait and watch, which is not surprising given that his own political future is uncertain. Germany is going to polls on Sunday, this Sunday. A change in leadership is expected, and by extension, a change in policy. So Brussels should not count on Berlin yet. Even politically stable partners like Italy are hesitating. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is against deploying troops to Ukraine. She has called it, and I'm quoting, the most difficult and the least effective option. So this is how things stand. Europe wants a seat at the negotiating table. It wants to protect Ukraine. It wants to deter future Russian aggression. But it cannot make up its mind and get its ducks in a row. It's a 3-year-long war. It involves a major nuclear power and it affects your most important allies. Who would you pick to broker a peace deal in such a scenario? Maybe a seasoned diplomat, or a respected politician, or a long-time Russia expert. But guess who Donald Trump picked? His golf buddy. I'm not talking about his Secretary of State or his National Security Advisor. They are seasoned campaigners. I'm talking about his special envoys, Steve Witkoff and Keith Kellogg. Witkoff is in charge of West Asia. Before Trump's inauguration, he traveled to Israel. Reports say he strong-armed Benjamin Netanyahu to take the ceasefire deal. We're talking about Israel's longest-serving leader, a veteran of diplomacy. Yet Witkoff managed to sway him. Then yesterday he was in Riyadh, one of the 3 people sent by Trump to talk to Russia, to end the war in Ukraine. Which makes you wonder, who is this guy? Steve Witkoff is a real estate mogul. He first met Donald Trump back in 1986. Both of them were working on a property deal. Since then, they have forged a strong friendship. Trump and Witkoff play golf together. In fact, Witkoff's grandson is named after the president. So it's a pretty thick bond. And like Trump, Witkoff is a billionaire. Even today, he remains the chairman of his real estate company. If you're waiting for his diplomatic credentials, don't bother, because there aren't any. Witkoff is a typical Trump advisor, no experience, but lots of loyalty. Reports say he gave $2 million to Trump's campaign. His only link to West Asia is that he's Jewish. So emotionally, Israel is important to him. But why was he in Riyadh? Why did he go to Moscow and meet Putin? Why not the Ukraine envoy? Let's introduce him first. Keith Kellogg is Trump's envoy for Ukraine and Russia. He's a more conventional pick. Kellogg was a general in the US Army. He has also authored a paper on the Ukraine war. And what did the paper say? That Ukraine must negotiate from a position of strength and that the US should keep sending arms to Ukraine. On things like NATO and territory, his position mirrors Trump, but overall, he's a bit more hawkish. Apparently, the Russians don't like that, which is probably why Kellogg was not in Riyadh for the talks. Instead, he's been dispatched to Ukraine. He arrived in Kyiv earlier today. He promised to listen to Zelensky's concerns.
We understand the need for security guarantees. We understand very serious the important sovereignty of this nation and the interests of this nation as well. And we're going to, part of my mission is to sit and listen and say, okay, what are you concerned? Well, yes, we can go back to the United States, talk to President Trump, and with the Secretary Rubio and the rest of the team, and just ensure that we get this one right.
Zelensky is pretty hopeful. He was eagerly awaiting Kellogg's arrival. The plan is to take him to the front line to show what Ukraine is dealing with.
I'm really waiting for Kellogg. I really want you to send him over here. And I want him to have a look at everything, to see it, to have briefings, to hear reports, to talk to different people, different members of our military, to spend time on it. And it's very good that he has 3 days there. I think 2.5 days, yes. What I really want is for him to bring all this back to President Trump, to show him, to tell him. And I think after that we will probably be closer to an understanding of it from our point of view.
It's a bit late for that. All the key decisions have already been made, plus Kellogg may not have that sort of sway with Trump, not like Witkoff, certainly. From the outside, this team may look unconventional. But I'd like to remind you of two things. Number one, this is not new for Trump. It's pretty much on point. He has always paired volatility with predictability. Trump himself is volatile, but his vice president is more conventional. One of his main advisors is Elon Musk, but his chief of staff is a long-time political consultant, someone who stays behind the scenes. Witkoff and Kellogg fit the same template. Witkoff has the fancy and often brash ideas, and Kellogg smoothens the edges. So that's the first point. Secondly, like it or not, it is working. Witkoff did manage to strike a ceasefire in Gaza. Joe Biden's army of seasoned diplomats could not do that in 15 months. So sometimes volatility works. Diplomats tend to see things in a rigid way. Maybe a fresh perspective helps. Having said that, there are downsides too. Yes, Witkoff settled the war in Gaza, but he's also pushing the US to take over the Strip, to evict Palestinians and build resorts. And that sort of perspective does not help. And that's where Trump will have to play a big role. He is the politician in the room, so he must embrace ideas that work and reject the ones that do not work. He is, after all, the president.
We have the official confirmation now. Yatindra of News 18 is confirming that Rekha Gupta has been officially announced as a leader of the legislature party of Delhi BJP. She will now be the next chief minister. This is confirmed, and first here on News 18, our colleague Yatinder has just reported this. First time MLA, former DUSU president, formerly with the ABVP, somebody who spent many years in the organization of the BJP. Rekha Gupta, first time MLA from Shalimar Bagh in North Delhi, has been officially named as the next chief minister of Delhi. Arun Dhanta, my colleague, is outside the Delhi BJP office. Arun, it is now official, it is confirmed. Delhi gets a woman chief minister. Rekha Gupta is the next chief minister of Delhi. Please fill us in with the details.
Zata, as we've been discussing about this, that Rekha Gupta might be the front runner, because the messages that we were getting from inside, they were saying that Rekha Gupta has beaten everybody else in the competition and she will be the chief minister. But still, we are waiting for the official confirmation. Now, I've just entered the premises of Delhi BJP office where the meeting, in fact, was taking place, and now it is confirmed that Rekha Gupta will be the chief minister of Delhi. As you've been also saying, that she comes from the Vaishya community, Baniya community, and that was the focus of the BJP in last couple of days. That's what the BJP leaders were telling us, that BJP, will look for a Baniya community, a Vaishya community chief minister in Delhi. Of course, they have been supporting BJP, thick and thin in the past. We have seen, and therefore I think, they have rewarded once again in Delhi to a women and to somebody who comes from a Baniya community, and also, of course, from Haryana. So I think through this choice, BJP has given multiple messages. There has not been any chief minister of BJP as far as woman is concerned in the country. So she will be the first woman chief minister for the BJP in the country from national capital. And national capital, of course, though it's a union territory, but the messaging which goes through the capital is very significant. And I think BJP, of course, must have gone through all the nitty-gritties of it, and therefore they reached to this conclusion that Rekha Gupta will be the chief minister of the national capital.
All right, there you go. Those are images of the new chief minister of Delhi, Rekha Gupta, first-time MLA from Shalimar Bagh in North Delhi. She unsuccessfully contested to be the mayor a few years ago, but now from first-time MLA, she becomes first-time woman chief minister. Remember, the NDA is trying to send out a very, very clear signal that they are backing women leaders, that women vote with Ladki Behan and the 2,500 rupee guarantee that they were giving to Mahilas. This is the signal.
How can we talk about Donald Trump without mentioning Elon Musk? 4 weeks into the Trump administration, one thing is quite clear. Musk is more powerful than any other official on Trump's team. And he is not even an elected official, nor has he been confirmed by the US Congress. Yet Elon Musk wields enormous power. But what's a Trump story without a twist? The White House delivered one on Tuesday. It said Musk does not control DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, the one that Musk was supposed to be heading, the one that Trump has unleashed on the US government. DOGE is slashing budgets and laying off government staff. It is being run by Musk and his team. Musk has held press conferences explaining DOGE's decisions. In fact, he's named it after a meme coin that he endorses. DOGE has Elon Musk written all over him. Then why is the White House distancing him from this department? Our next report explores.
Last week, White House reporters gathered for a key press conference with President Trump. With his son X by his side, Elon Musk faced the media. The focus was on DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Musk has been accused of using DOGE to control the US government. He dismissed the allegation forcefully.
Say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted, we have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House, we won the Senate. The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that.
DOGE has become the driving force behind this promise. 4 weeks into Trump's presidency, his administration is praising DOGE's progress. It claims the agency has already saved the US government $55 billion, even though the official website of the agency reports just $16 billion in savings. Doge's prime target for cost-cutting has been the US aid. The agency handles US foreign aid to partner nations. Musk has openly called it corrupt and incompetent. Doge's account on X has regularly shared updates on its findings. The agency has raised several questions and blocked millions of dollars worth of funds. Among them was a $21 million fund. This was apparently allocated for voter turnout in India. The specifics of this program remain unclear, but Trump was quick to issue a statement about it.
Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout.
Doge was also tasked with shrinking the government workforce. Swift layoffs have followed. Jobs have been cut from across departments, from education to the Food and Drug Administration or the FDA. Even the civil servants at the Office of Personnel Management have been impacted. Going by some estimates, thousands have lost their jobs. In an interview to Fox News, Musk boasted about Doge's progress.
If the will of the president is not implemented, and the president is representative of the people, that means the will of the people is not being implemented. And that means we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. And so I think what we're seeing here is the thrashing of the bureaucracy as we try to restore democracy and the will of the people.
Musk has taken credit for Doge's work, but the White House is now trying to distance Musk from the agency. In a court filing, the Trump administration claims that Musk is just an advisor to the president. It insists he has no decision-making authority. The filing is a response to a legal challenge brought by 14 American states. The lawsuit questions Musk's role within the government, calling it unconstitutional. It also labels him a designated agent of chaos. As always, Musk appears unfazed by the scrutiny. In fact, he took a veiled jab at his critics again.
I think the way to think of me is like I'm a technologist, and I try to make technologies that improve the world and make life better.
Your shirt.
Yeah, and that's why I like my T-shirt says tech support, because I'm here to provide the president with technology support.
For our next story, let's turn back the clock. The year is 1965. A small group of scientists at Dartmouth College coined a term, artificial intelligence. It was the birth of a bold idea to replicate human thought. Decades later, AI is no longer just an idea, it is a battlefield, because whoever controls AI controls the future. That makes it a race for dominance, and every day new players are entering this race. The latest one is called the Thinking Machines Lab. This is an AI startup formed by Meera Murati. You may have heard of her. She was part of OpenAI. That's where she made her mark. Murati joined OpenAI in 2018. She climbed the ranks. By 2022, she was their chief technology officer. When Sam Altman was fired, she stepped in as interim CEO. In 2024, she walked away from OpenAI, and now she's building her own empire. What's even more interesting is that she's poaching talent from her former employer. Her chief scientist is an OpenAI co-founder. Her CTO is OpenAI's ex-research officer. So far, she's poached around 20 employees, and reports say more could be on their way. So this AI battle is personal. And what will this new startup do? Well, Murati's focus is on AI alignment, to encode human values into AI models. That makes them safer and more reliable. So that's her main goal. Meera Murati wants to make AI safe. But a former boss of hers is not interested in any of this. He just wants to win the AI race. I'm talking about Elon Musk, who was also one of the co-founders of OpenAI before he had a falling out with Sam Altman. Yes, this plot is more complex than Game of Thrones. Anyway, coming back to Elon Musk, yesterday he unveiled Grok 3, the latest iteration of his AI chatbot. He calls it the smartest AI on earth. His answer to ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and the rest. Musk promises that Grok 3 will prioritize truth over political correctness. But does it really break new ground? Early tests suggest that not much has changed. Its capabilities are on par with other leading AI models. So the real difference is not in technology, it is in positioning. Musk is not just selling an AI model, he's selling an ideological counterweight, a challenge to the industry's prevailing norms and the industry's prevailing leaders, the likes of OpenAI.
I think the evidence is there in that OpenAI has gotten this far while having at least a sort of dual profit, non-profit role. What they're trying to do now is completely delete the non-profit. And that seems really going too far.
Last week, Musk made a $100 billion offer for OpenAI to buy the company and all its assets. CEO Sam Altman immediately rejected it. And these two have clashed before. But now the stakes are higher, so Altman is taking no chances. He's working to Musk-proof OpenAI, blocking any chance of a hostile takeover. Before we tell you what he's doing, a quick primer. OpenAI was set up as a non-profit. Their core mission, they said, was not to make money, it was to help humanity. But AI development required deep pockets. You needed a lot of money. So in 2019, OpenAI restructured itself from non-profit to capped profit. This allowed them to create a subsidiary purely for profit. But even that was not enough. OpenAI now wants to become a for-profit company. Elon Musk has a problem with this. He says it should remain non-profit, and to ensure this, he made a hostile bid. In response, Sam Altman has come up with a plan. He wants to give the non-profit board special voting rights. It will address the criticism and also allow them to fight any hostile takeover. So that's the plan for now. Now, all of these may feel like isolated events in the AI world, but if you join the dots, you'll see the big picture. You will see an industry in flux where AI is no longer about powerful models. It's about who controls its purpose. AI companies are diverging along ideological, governance, and financial lines. Some are chasing pure profit, some are prioritizing ethics and safety, and some are in it just for the chaos. At the end of the day, this battle is existential. AI is weaving itself deeper into society, and as history has shown, victors in such wars rarely settle for building tools. They want to shape the very future of humanity. Do you know what's the backbone of the internet? Spoiler alert, it is not satellites, it is in fact undersea cables. 99% of the world's digital data transmits through these cables. They are laid on the ocean floor, covering a distance of 1.4 million kilometers. Meta is now building one such ambitious undersea cable project. It will connect India, the US, Brazil, and Africa. The entire cable will be longer than the Earth's circumference. So why is this project significant? Who controls undersea cables? Why are they so important? And what makes them the new geopolitical fault line? Our next report tells you.
It was the summer of 1858. After years of bold ambition, a single, fragile copper cable stretched across the Atlantic, linking Ireland's Valentia Island to Newfoundland in Canada. It was a marvel of human ingenuity, a bridge between continents, a glimpse into a future where oceans would no longer divide us. But that future would have to wait, as the cable failed. Yet, from that failure, rose a revolution, a world rewired. Today, over 99% of international data doesn't travel by satellite, but through an unseen web of fiber optic cables, all sprawling across the ocean floor. These cables are thinner than a garden hose. They transmit terabits of data per second, and are the arteries of the digital age. Every Google search, Zoom call, banking transaction, and international news update, it all depends on them. In a world often obsessed with the clouds, the true backbone of the internet lies beneath the waves. Historically, state-backed enterprises and telecom giants laid and maintained these lifelines. But today, US tech giants control them. Take Meta, for example. It has announced plans to build a 50,000-kilometer subsea cable. It is called Project Waterworth, connecting the United States, India, South Africa, and Brazil. It's the world's longest underwater cable project. Once built, the entire cable is longer than the Earth's circumference. So it's a mammoth project. And Meta is not alone in this. Google, too, has 18 investments in subsea cables globally. Microsoft and Amazon, too, are investing heavily in submarine cables. Right now, there are 500 cable lines worldwide, covering 1.4 million kilometers. And they are present in every ocean of the world. That makes them vulnerable to disruptions. Some are human and natural. Like in 2008 when 2 undersea cables were damaged near Egypt. It led to internet blackouts across West Asia. Initial suspicions pointed to sabotage, but further investigation suggested it was wayward ship anchors. But these cables are also geopolitical fault lines. They can, and have been, tampered with. In the Baltic Sea, data cables have been sabotaged. Some of these attacks were blamed on Russia. Earlier this year, NATO launched a new mission in the Baltic Sea. This was to protect against these attacks. In the Pacific too, attacks like these are rampant. Fingers have been pointed towards Chinese vessels. So as internet traffic continues to explode, fueled by AI, streaming services, and global connectivity, the demand for undersea cables will only grow. New technologies promise to make these networks secure. But they also present new challenges, especially in ensuring equitable global access. So, should a handful of corporations and governments dictate the future of the Internet's most critical infrastructure? If history teaches us anything, those who control communication shape the destiny of nations. And right now, this power is in the hands of only a few rich men.
It's a big day for Pakistan. Multilateral cricket has returned to the country after 30 years. It's a long time to wait, especially for a cricket-crazy country like Pakistan. They're hosting this year's Champions Trophy. As we speak, the first match is underway. Pakistan are playing New Zealand in Karachi. It's a big test for the country, not just on the field, but outside the field as well. There are questions about security, about crowd participation, and about logistical capacity. Right at the toss, the first problem was apparent. The stadium was virtually empty. Remember, the hosts were kicking off the tournament. They're also the defending champions this time, yet a very small crowd. England's former captain, Michael Vaughan, also spotted this. Listen to what he said. Great to see the Champions Trophy being played in Pakistan. Have they forgotten to tell the locals it's on? Where is the crowd? Now, this was during New Zealand's innings. Things improved once Pakistan began batting, but going forward, this will be a worry. If fans do not turn up for Pakistan, would they turn up for Australia or England? And this is despite cheap tickets. The cheapest ones are being sold for $3. Compare that to the recent India-England series. The cheapest ticket was $17. That's almost 6 times more expensive. Yet Pakistan is struggling to fill stadiums. Clearly, it's a symptom of the economic problem. But it's also because of the security. In most provinces, the situation is bad, which is why matches are being played in just 3 cities, Karachi, Rawalpindi, and Lahore. More than 20,000 personnel will be deployed in these cities on match days. The army will also be on standby, and you can see why. Pakistan has seen a surge in terror attacks. More than 1,600 people were killed in such incidents last year. One attack was reported today. Gunmen killed 7 bus passengers in Balochistan. They stopped and boarded the bus, checked the ID cards of the passengers, took them to a nearby mountain and shot them dead. Such incidents are enough to scare the locals. Imagine what they must do to foreign travelers. Normally, such cricket events have a big foreign fan base, but don't expect that in Pakistan. Then you have the political chaos. Pakistan is hosting a major event after 3 decades. Yet their biggest cricket icon is in jail. I'm talking about Imran Khan. He sees the Champions Trophy as an opportunity, a chance to grab eyeballs. Reports say his party has planned protests on match days. We did not see anything today, but it remains a headache for the authorities. Of course, India will not be worried about any of this because Team India is not in Pakistan. All our matches will be played in Dubai. And that includes the semis and the final if we make it, which is a setback for Pakistan because India is the biggest draw in world cricket. If India had travelled, you may have seen bigger crowds, maybe even a large foreign fan presence. Either way, this is a big test for Pakistan. The cost of failure is huge. Pakistan last hosted an ICC tournament in 1996. International cricket left this country in 2009. That's when terrorists attacked the Sri Lankan team bus. After that, no team would travel to Pakistan. It took the country 1 decade to bring cricket back and almost 30 years to host a multinational event. So I repeat, this tournament is a major test. If it doesn't go well, Pakistan may get pushed to the sidelines even further. On paper, all such events may help your economy. It brings in much needed tourism and revenue. But you have to wonder if Pakistan rushed into this. Their domestic economy is weak, their security is abysmal, and crowd participation is low. Not what you expect from a host. And let's not forget the sports washing crowd. They have a lot to say normally, but they're silent about Pakistan, about a military state pretending to be a democracy. This is all the makings of a half-baked tournament. What can save it is the cricket.
We have the official confirmation now. Yatindra of News 18 is confirming that Rekha Gupta has been officially announced as a leader of the legislature party of Delhi BJP. She will now be the next chief minister. This is confirmed, and first here on News 18, our colleague Yatinder has just reported this. First time MLA, former DUSU president, formerly with the ABVP, somebody who spent many years in the organization of the BJP. Rekha Gupta, first time MLA from Shalimar Bagh in North Delhi, has been officially named as the next chief minister of Delhi. Arun Dhanta, my colleague, is outside the Delhi BJP office. Arun, it is now official, it is confirmed. Delhi gets a woman chief minister. Rekha Gupta is the next chief minister of Delhi. Please fill us in with the details.
Zata, as we've been discussing about this, that Rekha Gupta might be the front runner because the messages that we were getting from inside, they were saying that Rekha Gupta has beaten everybody else in the competition and she will be the chief minister. But still, we are waiting for the official confirmation. Now, I've just entered the premises of Delhi BJP office where the meeting, in fact, was taking place, and now it is confirmed that Rekha Gupta will be the chief minister of Delhi. As you've been also saying, that she comes from the Vaishya community, Baniya community, and that was the focus of the BJP in last couple of days. That's what the BJP leaders were telling us, that BJP will look for a Baniya community, a Vaishya community chief minister in Delhi. Of course, they have been supporting BJP, thick and thin in the past. We have seen, and therefore I think, they have rewarded once again in Delhi to a women and to somebody who comes from a Baniya community, and also, of course, from Haryana. So I think through this choice, BJP has given multiple messages. There has not been any chief minister of BJP as far as woman is concerned in the country. So she will be the first woman chief minister for the BJP in the country from national capital. And national capital, of course, though it's a union territory, but the messaging which goes through the capital is very significant. And I think BJP, of course, must have gone through all the nitty-gritties of it, and therefore they reached to this conclusion that Rekha Gupta will be the chief minister of the national capital.
All right, there you go. Those are images of the new chief minister of Delhi, Rekha Gupta, first time MLA from Shalimar Bagh in North Delhi. She unsuccessfully contested to be the mayor a few years ago, but now from first time MLA, she becomes first time woman chief minister. Remember, the NDA is trying to send out a very clear signal that they are backing women leaders. that women vote with Ladki Behan and the 2,500 rupee guarantee that they were giving to Mahilas. This is the signaling from the NDA, from the BJP, that they are going all in as far as women are concerned. You can also show celebrations from her residence. Rekha Gupta is now officially announced as the next Chief Minister of Delhi. This is a huge moment for the BJP, for the Delhi unit of the BJP. Remember, the BJP has been out of power in Delhi for 27 years. It had been 15 years of Sheila Dikshit, and then there was 10, 11 years of Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party. And now Delhi gets its woman chief minister. Remember, Delhi's had woman chief ministers in the past. Sheila Dikshit was the longest serving chief minister of Delhi, a woman. Sushma Swaraj, again a woman chief minister of Delhi. Atishi, a woman chief minister of Delhi. And now, from first time MLA in Shalimar Bagh in North Delhi, Rekha Gupta becomes the chief minister of the BJP. We don't know who else will become ministers in this government, whether there will be a deputy chief minister. Tomorrow is the swearing in. So 3 other women chief ministers from Delhi, including Sushma Swaraj, Atishi, Sheila Dikshit, and now the 4th chief minister, woman chief minister of Delhi, that is Rekha Gupta. I think it's a huge moment, this, in the politics of the national capital. This is a huge moment for the BJP as well. It is underlining in many ways, in many respects, the importance of the woman voter who has backed the BJP through and through, whether it was in Haryana, whether it was in Maharashtra, and of course certainly in Delhi after the announcement of 2,500 rupees for Mahilas of Delhi. So they've gone with a woman face, a woman chief minister of Delhi. Like I said, Sushma Swaraj was chief minister between 1998, in fact for 50 days in 1998. Sheila Dikshit for 15 years from 1998 till 2013. Atishi was chief minister for about 6 months or so, replacing Arvind Kejriwal. So now Rekha Gupta becomes the 4th woman chief minister of Delhi. Smita Prakash is there with us. Our guests are there with us. Smita, so it's confirmed now. Rekha Gupta is the new chief minister of Delhi. How important is it that the NDA underlined and rewarded a woman to be the chief minister of Delhi? How important is it given how much focus they have put on the woman voter in the last many elections? We have the official confirmation now. Yatindra of News 18 is confirming that Rekha Gupta has been officially announced as a leader of the legislature party of Delhi BJP. She will now be the next chief minister. This is confirmed, and first here on News 18, our colleague Yatinder has just reported this. First time MLA, former DUSU president, formerly with the ABVP, somebody who spent many years in
It's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. In the UK, a 65-foot sinkhole appears on a street. In Tasmania, more than 150 whales are found stranded on a beach. In the US, a car flies off an overpass onto a bus freeway. And finally, we are taking you back in history. On this day in 1945, US Marines captured the Japanese island Iwo Jima. This fueled a major battle during the Second World War. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Viewers, if you haven't already heard the big news today, the lady on your screens, Rekha Gupta, will be Delhi's chief minister. She was picked by the Bharatiya Janata Party legislators to lead the government, the BJP winning a convincing mandate in the capital, and has been selling the dream of turning Delhi